What's up, WWE Universe? Welcome back to your ultimate Raw rundown, where we break down the biggest moments, the most shocking returns, and the chaos you didn't see coming. And let me tell you, last night on Raw, it wasn't just another show. It was a war declaration. From the second the pyro went off, the energy in the arena was off the charts. Fans didn't know it then, but they were about to witness a power shift so brutal, so unexpected. It might have just changed Monday nights forever. Because Roman Reigns returned. And he didn't come alone. Now let's rewind, because this return wasn't just about nostalgia or a feel-good pop. It was strategic. It was planned. And it was laced with menace. The tribal chief, absent from WWE programming for months, stepped back into the red brand not with his traditional bloodline entourage, but with something far darker. Two masked men flanked him, silhouettes of violence and purpose. No smiles. No acknowledgment of the crowd. No celebration. Just silence and tension thick enough to cut with a knife. And then, with the lights dimming and the arena holding its breath, Roman Reigns stepped forward and grabbed a mic. The crowd roared, expecting a speech, a challenge, maybe even a hint at reconciliation with his old bloodline allies. But instead, Roman kept it short. "This isn't just a message," he said, his voice ice cold. "This is a warning. We run this place now." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Not just for the fans watching, but for everyone in the back. Because this wasn't Roman coming back to reclaim what was his. This was Roman burning everything that came before and starting something new. Something ruthless. Moments later, the camera cut backstage, and if you thought things were intense in the ring, what happened next took everything to another level. Seth Rollins, World Heavyweight Champion and leader of a new powerhouse alliance with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, was watching the screen in the locker room. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't worried either. But you could see it in his eyes. Disbelief. Confusion. And then anger. He stood up slowly, looked straight into the lens. And with that signature Rollins smirk, he said, "So much for family first, huh?" But the smile didn't last long. Because that jab, that dig at Roman's family-first legacy, might have just lit the match on something much bigger than a championship rivalry. Moments after the broadcast returned from commercial, reports started trickling in. Locker room insiders were leaking details. Chaos was erupting behind the scenes. Some claimed Jey Uso stormed out after a tense exchange with Roman earlier in the day. Others said Gunther, yes, Gunther, was visibly unsettled watching the new faction emerge. And then came the whispers. Shield 2.0. That's right. That's what they're calling it now. Roman's new crew? No longer just a bloodline. Not just family. Not even mercenaries. They're a modern version of the Shield. Only this time, they're colder, smarter, and without restraint. You remember the old Shield, Rollins, Ambrose, Reigns. They were chaos incarnate. Tactical. Unified. But they were still young. They had rules. Morality. Limits. This new version? Those limits are gone. Let's talk about the two masked men. No one knows their names. Not yet. But here's what we do know. They move like assassins. Swift. Silent. Each time Roman paused during his promo, they didn't blink. They didn't react. They didn't need to. Because they weren't there for the spotlight. They were there for the war. Backstage sources say one of them might be a former NXT standout. The other? Rumored to be a name we haven't seen in WWE before. A global talent with a reputation for destruction. But what matters isn't who they are. What matters is what they're here to do. And make no mistake, they're here to dismantle. Now, let's talk about Seth Rollins. The visionary. The architect. The World Heavyweight Champion. He's no stranger to chaos. No stranger to betrayal. He was the Shield once. He knows Roman's tactics. But even Seth looked shaken after Roman's return. Why? Because he's not just facing Roman. He's facing Roman plus two unknowns. A unit built on loyalty, mystery, and silent violence. And on Seth's side, two of the most dominant rising stars in WWE today, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But here's the problem. These guys are bruisers. Powerhouses. Absolute monsters in the ring. But they're not battle-tested together yet. And Roman? He's been building factions since day one. Let's break down that dynamic. Braun Breaker is a generational athlete, the son of Rick Steiner, nephew of Scott Steiner. He's got the pedigree. He's got the power. And last night, he had the audacity to step toe-to-toe with Reigns backstage. No fear. No hesitation. You built the table? Braun reportedly said to Roman after the cameras cut. I'm here to flip it. Roman didn't blink. He smirked and then walked away without saying a word. That's what makes this terrifying. Roman isn't shouting. He's not even trying to convince people anymore. He's just moving. Quiet. Calculated. And when the tribal chief moves in silence, someone's about to fall. Bronson Reed, meanwhile, looked fired up last night. Word is he's itching for a fight, especially after being left out of championship conversations for far too long. Teaming up with Seth might be his chance to rise. But going head-to-head with Roman and the unknown? That's not a rise. That's a trial by fire. And that brings us to the locker room reaction. We saw it on the faces of everyone backstage. The shift. The unease. The realization that Raw's balance of power has been completely thrown off. Jey Uso? Pacing. Frustrated. Torn. Gunther? Watching. Analyzing. Rumors say Imperium might be preparing for a confrontation of their own. Even Sami Zayn, who's tried to stay out of faction wars lately, was seen talking with Kevin Owens in hushed tones. Because this isn't just about one feud anymore. This is about control. Roman Reigns didn't just return to reclaim gold. He returned to erase everything that doesn't bow to him. And Raw is just the beginning. Now, let's be honest, WWE thrives on conflict. Rivalries. Betrayals. Factions. But this feels different. Because this time, it's not just about who's the best in the ring. It's about who can survive the system Roman's building. He's not asking for challenges. He's creating environments where his enemies don't even know they've already lost. The Shield 2.0 might be a nickname now, but if this continues, that name won't just be symbolic. It'll be feared. So the big question becomes, what happens next? Will Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed take the fight directly to Roman? Or will they regroup and wait for the perfect strike? Will Roman's masked enforcers be unmasked? Or will they remain shadows, picking off threats one by one? And what about the rest of the Raw roster? Do they fall in line? Or fight for survival? Because, make no mistake, this isn't over. This is just chapter 1. And if you thought Roman Reigns was done making history, think again. He's not back to play fair. He's back to rewrite the rules. So buckle up, WWE Universe. Because Monday Night Raw just became Roman's playground, and nobody's safe. If you felt that tension, if you saw what we saw, drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think Roman's masked allies are? Can Seth and his crew fight back? Or is Shield 2.0 about to dominate WWE from the inside out?